Hello students, welcome to my English class. This video is for 5th semester students. Yes, we all know that the examination is very near. We have only a week's time to prepare for the exam. So let me give a brief summary kind of a description about the important topics that you have in your final year textbook, the English Express, which was released in this year. So this English Express is the new textbook for final year students. It is a general English textbook that is followed by Osmania University. So in the first unit we have a poem and also a prose. So let us discuss the poem, that is The Lotus, written by Toru Dutt. So Toru Dutt is a woman writer. She was born in Calcutta on 4th March 1856. She is a Bengali writer, a 19th century writer, very important Indian writer. She is called a founding figure of Indo-Anglian literature. So along with Henry Desrosiers and Sarojini Naidu, her name is also considered very significant. So her important writings are Sita, Ancient Ballads and Legends of Hindustan. So if you look at this collection, that is Ancient Ballads and Legends of Hindustan, this poem, The Lotus, appears in that particular collection. So The Lotus is written by Toru Dutt, as you know. She is a pioneering figure in Indian English literature. This sonnet, published posthumously in 1882, is a testament to Dutt's talent for weaving together Indian themes with Western poetic forms. So this poem is a sonnet. Sonnets are short poems. They have only 14 lines in the poem. So this was written after the death of Toru Dutt. That is why it's called posthumously written, posthumously published, not written. Posthumously published in 1882. So this poem brings together Indian themes, the significance of Indian themes with Western poetic forms. The poem, presented as a fable, explores the beauty of lily and the rose, each embodying different ideals. Cupid, the god of love, seeks a flower that encapsulates the qualities of both. The answer lies in the lotus, a flower which is very important in India, which combines the purity of lily and the passion of the rose, symbolizing the synthesis of Eastern and Western aesthetics. Dutt's poem is significant as it signifies the emergence of Indian voices in English literature. It challenges the prevailing Eurocentric narrative of beauty and introduces Indian themes, particularly the symbolism of lotus, a flower deeply rooted in Indian culture and mythology. So this poem was written in 19th century when India was under British rule. So she wanted to introduce particularly Indian aesthetics into her poetry. Along with Western aesthetics, she wanted to give importance for Indian art forms, Indian culture and mythology. So that is the reason she has brought lotus, which is the national flower of India, into this particular poem. Now this is the poem written by Toru Dutt. This is the poem The Lotus. Love came to Flora asking for a flower that would of flowers be undisputed queen. The lily and the rose long had been rivals for that high honor, bards of power. So two important flowers are lily and rose. So love came to Flora, to the queen of flowers, and asked for a particular beautiful flower. So these two flowers have remained as bards of power. They have shown their power since long. So whenever we think of flower, rose comes to our mind. Similarly, lily comes to certain persons, people's mind. The rose can never tower like the pale lily with her Juno mien. But is this lily lovelier? Thus between flower factions rang the strife in Psyche's bower. So these two flowers have remained iconic through time immemorial. So there is a fight that is going between these two flowers, and this cannot be called off. This fight cannot be called off. So the love wants another flower which has the qualities of both rose and also lily. So it asks for another flower which has the qualities of both these flowers, an amalgamation of rose and also lily. So this is when we get lotus into picture. But of what color? Rose red, love first choose, then prayed. No lily white. So both the colors should be there. A combination of rose red and lily white. That's why lotus, you look, it is pink in color, a combination of red and white. When you combine these colors, it becomes pink. And Flora gave the lotus rose red dyed and lily white, the queenliest flower that blows. So ultimately, what is the flower that remains? It is the lotus. Now we'll come back to the essay. You'll be asked to write an essay on this poem, The Lotus by Toruda. So it is important to understand the main points, and when you write the essay, the first paragraph should be an introduction about the author and also in general about the poem. So you can read the first paragraph on your own. If you want this PDF material, you can send a mail to the mail ID roopna.ravi@gmail.com. So coming to the second paragraph, we already discussed this. The Lotus is a sonnet with 14 lines. The poem enacts a type of fable, so it is a kind of a story. First part of the poem sets forth a problem. So what is the problem? Cupid, the god of love, raises a question. Which flower is lovelier, the lily or the rose? The qualities of both the flowers are described. Many poets have talked a lot about beauty of both rose and lily. Both the flowers have received a lot of praise. Each flower possesses distinct qualities. The rose cannot attain the majestic status of lily, while the lily cannot display the same attraction as the rose. The lily holds sacred ties to Juno, the chief goddess of beauty, whereas rose is associated with the Greek goddess Psyche. So every flower has its own importance, but people most often choose rose and lily. So rose has its own significance, and likewise is the case with lily. The second part of the poem offers a solution to the problem. The problem is resolved by Flora, the goddess of flowers. The answer is lotus, a flower which embodies both the qualities of rose and also the qualities of lily, that is passion and purity. The ongoing rivalry between the lily and rose has continued for a long period. Considering these aspects, Cupid yearns for a flower that combines the unique traits of both lily and rose. She is looking for a flower possessing the lovely attributes of the rose and dignified presence of lily. Upon Flora's inquiry about the color of the unique flower, love initially chooses the red hue of the rose. After that, she wants the purity of lily's white. Eventually, love desires both colors. So, love wants both the colors combined into one. So, thus, Flora presents the lotus colored with elegant pale shades of rose red and lily white. Lotus turns out to be the ultimate graceful and regal queen among all flowers, and it is placed in love's hands. In this poem, the lotus symbolizes the synthesis of both Eastern and Western ideals of beauty. So, remember, it was written in the 19th century when India was under the British rule. So, Western ideals were imposed upon us, and it was the responsibility of Indians to promote the Eastern ideals. These flowers symbolizes ideals of beauty, rose representing Asian beauty due to its red color contrasting with lily which represents European beauty. The poem explores an Indian theme and it contributes to the beginning of Indian literature in English. So, she is one of the earliest Indo-Anglian writers. Earlier in the English poetry, Indian themes were not present. This poem reflects the Indian cultural identity and respect for native roots. So, a simple poem, understand the theme and then write the answers accordingly. So, you will have to write essays of at least 200 words. Okay, so prepare accordingly. Now, we will move on to the next lesson. Yes, the second lesson that you have in your textbook is Solitude, written by Henry David Thoreau. So, Henry David Thoreau is an American writer. He is also a 19th century writer. He is a naturalist. He writes essays. He is also a poet and he is a philosopher who advocated transcendentalist movement. Okay, so this is a philosophical movement. It is also a literary movement. And he is best known for his book Walden. So, his essay Civil Disobedience is also a very important one to read. So, his books, articles, journals and poetry amount to more than 20 volumes. So, this is a quite long essay, long prose that you have in your textbook. So, let us read what is given here as an introduction. Henry David Thoreau, the renowned American naturalist and philosopher, is best known for his seminal work Walden, which explores the nature of solitude and the importance of living in harmony with nature. Solitude is a chapter from Walden published in 1854. It delves deeper into these themes, offering Thoreau's reflections on the power of solitude and its contrast to loneliness. So, loneliness gives a negative impression, but solitude gives a positive impression. So, it means that you are enjoying the aloneness. Thoreau argues that solitude is not a state of isolation, so it doesn't have any negativity associated with it. It is a state where you enjoy the company of yourself, but rather an opportunity for profound introspection. So, when you are doing nothing, when you are alone, what do? You think. So, it is a time when you can do self-reflection. He emphasizes the beauty and tranquility of the natural world, suggesting that true companionship can be found in the company of trees, plants and animals. Thoreau differentiates solitude from loneliness, emphasizing that loneliness is a state of mind that can be overcome by embracing one's own company and finding contentment in the natural world. So, you have to get rid of loneliness. Loneliness means you don't have anybody to talk to, you get bored, you think that you are alone, you are aloof and all that, but that kind of negative feeling can be transformed into a positive feeling by embracing one's own company, by enjoying one's own company and also finding satisfaction by being in the company of nature. So, this essay highlights Thoreau's belief that true freedom lies in embracing solitude, disconnecting from the artificiality of social interactions and allowing oneself to be immersed in the natural world. So, when one is in the company of nature, we don't need anything else in real. So, we are aloof from the artificiality of all those social interactions and we can be at pace with our own thoughts and our own wishes. So, here is the summary of Solitude. Henry David Thoreau was an American naturalist, essayist, poet, philosopher. So, everything that we have discussed earlier about the poet comes in the first paragraph of this summary. Thoreau begins Solitude by stating, "This is a delicious evening when the whole body is one and imbibes delight through every pore. Walking along the pond, enjoying the animals, Thoreau believes that his solitude makes him a part of nature and therefore allows him to achieve a sense of liberty. So, his solitude makes him free, it helps him enjoy a sense of freedom. When he returns to his house, he can sometimes tell that visitors have been here in his absence. He believes his life is as solitary if he lived on the prairies or Asia or Africa, and that he has a little world all to himself. So, wherever he is in the company of nature, he has a little world all for himself. He enjoyed his own company. From nature, Thoreau gets the most sweet and tender and most innocent and encouraging society, which prevents every possible occasion for melancholy. So, the company of nature makes him happy, it gives him self satisfaction, and there is no ray of sadness in his life when he is alone and when he is in the company of nature. Thoreau asked if anyone would consider a dandelion in a pasture to be alone. Will a plant be alone in nature? Never. It never can be. The plants, its flowers and trees are part of nature. They never feel alone. No part of nature is ever alone. The writer used to wonder if the company of other people was necessary for a good life. So, it's not essential, that is what the writer is saying. Even in the middle of such thoughts, he knew that these thoughts would pass. Some of his most enjoyable hours were the long rainstorms in which he stayed in the house thinking. So, he enjoyed this solitude a lot. So, more than the company of other people, he enjoyed his own company. So, he recollects those long rainstorms when he was alone in the house and he remained thinking about the past. Thoreau expresses his connection to nature by stating that he is not lonelier than a single pine tree. Loneliness is a state of mind, he believes, which cannot necessarily be cured by being close to someone. So, it cannot be cured by being close to someone. You cannot beat your loneliness. Just as people can be blind to the life of nature happening around them, Thoreau believes they can be bad companions. Moreover, even the best company becomes wearisome after a while. So, there is boredom in companionship, but in aloneness there is no boredom at all, because you have the company of nature. Thoreau believes that people are distracted by being polite and they spend too much time around each other. This tendency actually makes them respect each other less. So, when you are too close to somebody and when you spend a lot of time with somebody, what happens? There is less respect. That is what Thoreau has observed. Thoreau compares himself to nature and tries to find out the pill which will keep people well, serene and contented. So, what is that one medicine which helps people to be very much happy, contented and also serene? So, that is aloneness or solitude. Though he had very pleasant visits from all kind of people, he thinks people are lonelier when they are around other people. What prevents a student or a farmer for being alone is not people but their work which fulfills them. So, work gives us satisfaction, it gives us contentment, but not the company of people. Thoreau mentions that his house is surrounded by sunlight, shadow and the sound of wind, which are his ideal companions. So, he loves the company of nature and he considers parts of nature, elements of nature as his ideal companions. In second unit, you have this poem, The Chimney Sweeper, written by William Blake. So, William Blake is a very famous poet, British poet. He was born in 1757 and he died in 1827. So, he was an English poet. He was also a painter and printmaker. So, he is considered a seminal figure in the history of poetry, particularly during the Romantic age. So, he has written a lot of poems. These short poems are divided into two categories, the songs of innocence and also songs of experience. So this chimney sweeper comes under songs of experience. Songs of innocence actually captures the innocence of childhood, while the songs of experience exposes the adult world of corruption and also exploitation. Now this poem is set against the backdrop of child labor, which was very much practiced in England in the late 18th and 19th century. So chimney sweeping was very much prevalent practice which was there in London during those times, and it was a very dangerous task that kids used to do. So Blake was very much bothered about this, and he has portrayed the life of a poor chimney sweeper boy. So it is a kind of a painful story of this boy who was sold out for this job at a very tender age. Now the poet criticizes the unjust system that was existing in London during then. So you can see the life of the young child and his suffering from poverty, oppression and also exploitation in the name of this particular work. So here you have the introduction on the screen. William Blake, a visionary poet of the Romantic era, was a strong advocate of social justice. That is why he has written a poem for the voiceless people. The poem is narrated from the perspective of a young chimney sweeper who recounts the dream of another chimney sweeper, Tom. Tom dreams of being rescued by an angel and taken to a sunny meadow, symbolizing an escape from the harsh realities of child labor. So poor child, he is very young. He was taken away for this laborious task, very dangerous task, but he dreams of being rescued from that difficult situation. Blake uses a vivid imagery and also symbolism in this poem. Let us look at the poem. Okay. When my mother died, I was very young, and my father sold me, while yet my tongue could scarcely cry. Weep, 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 weep. So your chimneys I sweep, and in sooth I sleep. So it's very sad to read this first stanza of the poem. The young child's mother died and his father sold him off, and he was barely big that time. He could just cry, he could just weep, and what he did, he was just sweeping the dust on the chimney. There is little Tom Dacre who cried when his head that curled like a lamb's back was shaved. So they need to work, so their hair was shaved. So I said, hush Tom, never mind it, for when your head is bare, you know that the soot cannot spoil your white hair. And so he was quiet, and that very night, as Tom was sleeping, he had such a sight that thousands of sweepers were all of them locked up in coffins of black. So many kids sadly have died doing this dangerous task. And by came an angel who had a bright key, and he opened the coffins and set them all free. So this little boy is wishing for an escape from this dangerous place. So in his dream, he could see the coffins were all opened by the angel and they were all let free. Then down a green plain leaping, laughing they run and wash in a river and shine in the sun. Then naked and white all their bags left behind. They rise upon clouds and sport in the wind. So they died. And the angel told Tom if he would be a good boy and he would have God for his father and never want joy. And so Tom awoke, and we rose in the dark and got with our bags and our brushes to work. But all these are merely his dream. In reality, he has to work very hard. He has to sweep the chimney, and that is how he make money and then send it to his dad, who sold him for money. Though the morning was cold, Tom was happy and warm because he works on the chimney, which is always warm, which is always hot. So if all do their duty, they did not fear harm. So if they do their work properly, then their boss will not punish them. Otherwise, they will have to go through those difficult punishments too. So coming back to this essay, the summary, in the first paragraph I have explained all about William Blake. We have discussed it already. Then in the second paragraph we are talking about Tom and his dreams, in which he saw many kids who were in coffin, who are mere dead bodies, and they are rescued by angel. So the poem is set against child labor that was practiced in England in the late 18th and 19th centuries. Chimney sweeping was a prevalent practice in London, where boys who are as young as 6 years old were hired for this work, because they have a tender body and they can climb onto the chimney very easily and do this work. So, through his poems, Blake gives a voice to the voiceless. In this poem, William Blake criticized the dark background of child labor. So, this was very much existent in London during those times. Many politicians stood against child labor and abuses in 1830s, but still it remained prominent in the United States and Europe till the 20th century. So, a very serious issue has been brought to light by this poet William Blake through his Song of Innocence. So, Postmaster is a short story written by Rabindranath Tagore, our own Indian writer, very multifaceted genius personality he is. He wrote in his mother tongue Bangla and also in English. So, he received the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913. So, he was a versatile artist. He wrote short stories, he wrote novels, he wrote poems, he wrote essays, what not. He composed musical dramas, dance dramas. He has written travel diaries and also autobiographies. So, this short story, Postmaster, as the title suggests, revolves around the story of a postmaster and an uneducated girl named Ratan. So, it is a critique of opportunism of the contemporary educated administrators who ignore human values in favor of their short and long term survival. So, you might have seen a lot of people who are opportunists, who change their colors according to the situation. For his first job, the postmaster is assigned to work in a village of Ullapoor, quite backwater with an indigo factory. He feels out of place in the village. He was feeling lonely. He was amidst sophisticated Kolkata people, but then from that place he has come to the village. The postmaster did not have anything to do, and to kill the boredom he takes to writing poetry about his scenic surroundings. Since he doesn't make much money, the postmaster cooks for himself. So one night, while Ratan is preparing his hookah, the postmaster asks her to describe her family. So there begins a relationship where the two share very intimate details about their family. So they share a particular kind of bond. The postmaster mentions how much he misses his mother and sister back in Calcutta. The rapport develops to such an extent that Ratan starts to consider the postmaster's family her own. He calls Ratan to his office and informs her that he is going to teach her how to read. So, a special kind of bonding is formed between the postmaster and the orphan girl Ratan. So, fed up with the village and his illness, the postmaster applies for a transfer, but he is denied transfer. He quits the job to return home and tells Ratan about this. Ratan begs him to take her with him. but he couldn't. He promises her that he will come back to take her to the village and on some other during some other time. As the postmaster is leaving, he is struck by a feeling that he should go back and take Ratan, but concludes that life is full of separations and endings, so what is the point? So relations come, at some point of time it ends, so it is very difficult to continue at the cost of maintaining relationships. Tagore instead uses these characters to lay out a parable about interpersonal relationships. So this was written in the 20th century when it was the British government which was ruling in India. Now we'll go to the next poem, that is Bury Me in the Free Land, written by Francis Harper. So Francis Harper was a black abolitionist, suffragist, author and lecturer born free in Baltimore, Maryland. So she was completely against slavery, the concept of slavery. So she wants to be buried in a free land. She doesn't want to be buried in America where slavery exists. So she wanted African Americans to be considered as equals. The poem longs for a society where all individuals are treated as equals, the future in which African Americans can live without racial discrimination and oppression. So you might have heard a lot of stories about African Americans. So they face racial discrimination and oppression. They faced so much of racial discrimination in America. The poet uses vivid imagery and metaphor to portray the oppression of slaves. Being an activist for human rights, she became extremely angry whenever she heard of this heartless custom. So she couldn't accept it at all. So slavery has to be abolished. That is her opinion. The speaker wants to be buried among the graves of humble people. So many African Americans have died due to their difficult circumstances over there, due to the cruel practice of slavery. So she doesn't want to be buried in that place where her fellow beings were oppressed by the white Americans. The poem implies that the speaker is dying soon, which lends her request a sense of urgency. The message being presented as a sort of deathbed wish also gives the request stronger moral authority. She appeals to the sense of kinship and solidarity among the oppressed people. So she considers the African Americans as her brothers and sisters. So she expresses a sense of solidarity for them, and she highlights the importance of unity, giving importance for each and every human being. They are all unique, be it African American or be it white American, whatever it is, everyone should be treated equally and everyone should get justice. The last lesson is Homi Baba, written by Inakshi Chatterjee. So Inakshi Chatterjee was a prolific Bengali author. Her book Paramanu Jignasa won Rabindra Puraskar in 1974. Inakshi Chatterjee's essay on Homi Baba is taken from her book Masterminds, Profiles of 11 Indian Scientists. So Homi Baba is a very famous scientist. He is a physicist, a nuclear physicist, and also architect of India's atomic energy program. He is portrayed as a multifaceted figure whose work exceeded scientific boundaries. So he is recognized as a human being, as a very important personality as he is, and also he is revered for the scientific achievements. So he was born on 30th of October 1909 in Bombay in a rich Parsi family. His father was a lawyer and his grandfather was the Inspector General of Education in Mysore. He was sent to Cathedral School in Bombay. His father wanted to join him in Tata Iron and Steel Company, but he was sent to Cambridge to study engineering. Baba, however, wanted to study physics, and he studied physics. So it was an exciting time in the area of physics when Baba joined Cambridge. So new areas in nuclear and cosmic ray physics were coming up then. So in 1939, the Second World War broke out. So he was holidaying in India, and due to the war he was not able to return to Cambridge. So he was forced to stay in India. So during that time he accepted a post in IISc Bangalore. So C.V. Raman was the director of that institute then, Indian Institute of Sciences then. Baba was elected as a fellow of the Royal Society. After working in India, he has a strong feeling of his Indian identity, and he doesn't want to go abroad. The idea of School of Research came in him in 1945. Tata Institute of Fundamental Research was set up in Bombay. Baba moved to Bombay. Cosmic ray studies were carried out by bringing a lot of young scientists under one umbrella. So, a bright Indian mathematician, K. Chandrasekharan from Princeton University, was asked to join the staff of Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, and this institute focused purely on applied research. So the world was entering a new field, that is about atomic energy. Atomic Energy Commission of India was founded, and Homi Baba was the chairman of that particular organization, association. In 1955, he was elected the president of the first meeting regarding peaceful use of atomic energy, which was held in Geneva without disturbing the earth. How to use atomic energy. So Baba was an extraordinary person. He sacrificed his personal ambition for the country. He didn't want to go out of India after realizing his Indian identity, the importance of his Indian identity. In 1966, when Baba was on his way to attend meeting of the International Atomic Energy Agency in Vienna, he died in a plane crash. He was only 57 years old when he passed away. So in his memory, to honor his contributions to science and physics, the Trombay Atomic Energy Establishment was renamed as Baba Atomic Research Center. So these are the important lessons that you have in the textbook, the English Express. So study well. You have only very little time in your hand. All the best. If you want this PDF, you can send me a mail. My mail ID is roopna.ravi@gmail.com. That is roopna.ravi@gmail.com. So all the best, students. Thank you for listening.